This video is brought to you by us, SCMDOJO. We provide awesome courses, guides, best practices for supply chain community. Hi folks, welcome to one more episode of the Supply Chain Show. Today I'm going to talk about how to select logistics service providers and what are the advantages and disadvantages. But the question is where I am right now. I'm into fantastic place of Baku, Azerbaijan in a grand logistics center, right? So thanks to Samir, he gave me the opportunity to show the warehouse, and this is what we're actually going to do today. So we're going to show you inbound, outbound logistics activities. So you can see how the 3PL or 4PL operations works, right? So Samir, welcome to the show. So thank you for the opportunity for having me here, hosting me, fantastic food, fantastic people. But tell me about the facility. This looks like huge, right? So tell me the space, bird space, what's happening?
Yeah, thank you, Muddassir, and we have a pleasure welcoming you in Baku, Azerbaijan, and especially in our facility. Yeah, we have almost 73,000 square meters, the total area of our facility, and out of this, 24,000 square meters is under one roof warehouse, which is one of the
24,000 square meters.
Yes, under the one roof, which is one of the biggest facility in the country. And we are 3PL and 4PL operators in the country. And here we have the inbound area of our part logistics, and we can go through the warehouse and we can show you the other side, the mezzanine and the.
So mezzanine inbound, we'll have a look. Cheers. Thank you. Let's go. Yeah.
Yeah. Here we have the specific separate project. For the medicines and the medicals, jointly done by our customer and distributor of the medicine supplies in the country. This is mezzanine area, including the conveyors and so on, as you can see over here. And this is what we do based on the pallet packing, box packing, unit packing, and so on. So this is the area why mezzanine you need. The smaller your package and the items to be packed. So in this case, we'll use the mezzanine for the proper distribution and operations.
Samir, thank you for the great tour you have given for the warehouse just now. Seen the operations, seen the mezzanine, all the automation looks absolutely fantastic. But let's get back to the topic of this conversation, which is about how to select a logistics service provider. I mean, that's the question. What is the current criteria where someone should start? Because the thing is, there's far too many providers available right now in the market. So if I'm a manufacturer or a distributor, what should be my criteria? Where should we start? Please.
Yeah, thank you for your good question. Selecting the logistics provider is one of the, I will share with you some key points other than what everyone knows about that. But I will share from my own experience and knowledge. But the key point here for selecting the logistics provider is to be very clear what you need.
Okay.
So we talk about services. We should definitely know which services you require for your logistics
business
operations. Exactly.
Okay.
Because for instance, in our case, we offer more than 30 services.
30 services?
Yes.
Right.
So therefore, to be make very precise in your forecast, you should know definitely what services you may require for your operations.
So give an example for a typical distributor. So what should be the requirement be?
Yeah, for typical distributor, the requirement, of course, it's the cost of the operations for inbound and outbound, for palletizing, depalletizing,
right.
Pick by box, pick by units, and so on. And generally, this is what we have. And then the next is a timeline, for sure. You should definitely know what is your timeline requirements.
Yeah.
Because we never say that this needs to be happen yesterday, because the warehouse logistics operations more likely they work in many cases in 24 hours ahead
right.
of our customers, just to make sure that we have right box delivered in the right time in the right place. For sure, you should look at the location geographically. You have to consider the classification of the warehouses, what you need, temperature control, multi-temperature control, dry, and so on. Then, and other part where we are not trying to explain to our customers that the safety and the HAC standards of the warehouse, which is more also crucial when you have lots of crew on board working on these big operations.
Yeah.
And of course the price, when we talk about the pricing, it has to be very reasonable.
Yeah.
In terms of versus to what you buy and what you get. It has not to be overpriced for sure. It has not to be a low quality price. But when we talk about this, about the setting of your own logistics, yeah, it's a great idea to set up your own logistics.
You mentioned about price, right? And you mentioned actually very much at the end of your criteria, from the service perspective, safety requirements, and all that. But as a customer who is basically trying to hire 3PL or 4PL services, is predominantly mentioned on the cost side, right? They want to know. But if I want to link that part of the conversation with the part you mentioned at the start of the conversation, which is saying customers generally don't know what they want, right? So how we actually take this opportunity of this conversation and give some, let's call it, education points that to understand the cost, what customer need to tell you, basically, to have the cost perspective better.
Yeah, to have the cost perspective better, the logistics provider should know, as I mentioned, should know the requirements of the customer.
Yeah.
The quantity, SKUs, and other criteria where the 3PL operator will be operating
right.
for this. And based on that, of course, the 3PL operator has to assign the number of people required for this customer, right. From operations side and from operations perspective. But to be honest, my very easy and simple advice on that. Mm-hmm. So you just go for the 3PL provider and ask for the price menu, like you do everywhere.
So menu, okay, that's great. So menu would be constructed like inbound per container I charge this, for that many, for example, per pallet I charge that, for storage I charge £2 or €2 per pallet per week, and outbound we charge this in terms of number of containers shipping out, right?
Exactly.
And that menu is generally available.
Yes,
okay.
Exactly.
To use that menu, then you have to understand how many inbound, outbound you have. So basically you have to have your own data to multiply it with the cost multipliers of that menu. Okay. Yeah. So if somebody wants to come to you, you have this menu available.
Yeah, we call it catalog of services, and also we do provide with a technical proposal to our customers,
right.
Which means that the customer has at least preliminary understanding of our services and of our facility without going into the commercial details.
Right.
So, and then customer may choose that, yes, I need this or I don't need this. And again, coming back to the point of having the logistics set up as your own department,
right.
It is cost. It is cost, and there are lots of costs associated with this, like training the personnel and so on. So therefore, you have to consider all this before you go to set up your logistics. Or alternatively, you should try to look at the option of third-party logistics providers.
When we having a conversation before, just to plan this video, you mentioned one very interesting point. One of the challenges for customer to understand their own cost of hiring 3PL or own logistics operator is basically they don't have enough supply chain education themselves, right? To basically understand what elements of the logistics operations they need to outsource. So yeah, share your thoughts, because you have some interesting thoughts on that topic.
Exactly. This is good point when you talk about the cost, the customer they should really be careful and understand their own costs. If you don't know your cost of the logistics, so it's gonna be really hard to compare with the third party. And there are lots of hidden costs on this area when you set up your own logistics, and lots of unavoidable costs, what we call it.
Right.
So therefore, all these costs, especially unavoidable costs, needs to be considered when you set up your own logistics. But again, as I said, it's great to have your own logistics, but when you have very huge distribution and huge flow of the materials and equipment what you supply to your customers, but 3PL provider has to, their attitude and the approach on this, it needs to be first of all educational. So we try to provide and share our experience with our customers, and then of course it's their choice to choose or not.
So I want to mention this point. At SCMDOJO, we are creating a course, like it's a basically 5-module program, in fact, not a course program, which is focused on logistics cost optimization only. So we're going to talk about all the inbound element, outbound element, system cost, people cost, right, and how you focus on the cost of optimization and with the case studies, right? So whoever is watching, it will be available by I think summertime, by June, July, August. So we can share and you can share with your customers at the same time. So just offering there while we are talking about this topic, right? So we have discussed the cost element, the price element, what customer needs to be education on their operation. So that's great. So now we move the conversation in terms of the, let's call it challenges, right? Because once you decide, let's assume you want to use the 3PL, 4PL services, great, the decision has been made. But now we move to the execution of that transition. So what are the, like, I know you have a lot of problems in your head or challenges. Just give me top 3, the biggest things which a company needs to know while working with the 3PL, 4PL services.
I would say the number one, I think it's, in my view, it's most important is proper planning.
Proper planning, okay. Planning of material.
Yes.
Okay.
Material planning and your distribution planning. You have to have your clear setup, the target lines.
More about demand planning and focus.
Exactly.
Okay.
Forecasting and demand planning and all this thing. So this is what we need. Number one is. Number two is you should really know that, as I mentioned, how to improve your system.
Right.
How to make the improvement and how to make it better, because
which system? Customer system or your system?
I would say in both cases, because we also what we do, we offer our customers to how to improve the system.
Right.
We do some monitoring within a couple of weeks or months.
Yeah.
And we offer them better solution. It's
right.
So we try to make their life easier, because in general, when we talk about the logistics operation in the warehouse, it's almost all related to the time and cost.
Sure.
And when we talk about the time, it's time to, when we don't have the proper plannings and we experiencing the challenges on timely implementing and fulfillment of orders.
Sure.
Which is the, I think, crucial part, especially when we talk about the distribution companies,
right.
When we have very big flow inbound and outbound shipments, and therefore the time is, I think this is essential. And if we don't have a proper planning, then we lose time.
So it's the first planning, second system, third.
And the third one I would say is you should have the professional people on board.
From both sides.
Both sides,
exactly.
Right. So we should talk on the same language.
Same language, which again comes down to the point of having the right supply chain education, to have the right terminology, to speak the same language. Again, SCMDOJO do that. So please visit. Right. So that's one. So that's interesting. Now, I'm going to move the conversation towards the end, and we're going to talk about, let's call it a very local, which is Baku in Azerbaijan, right? You are into this eastern part of the, of the world, right? Or eastern near Russia, put it this way, right? And it's right now when recording this video, there is a conflict situation going on as well. So first of all, explain me the opportunities right now for Baku or Azerbaijan in general, because it's a 10 million people country, it's growing, there's a quite, let's call it economically good situation because of oil money, right? So how you see logistics being, let's call it transforming or developing in the region? So because you're one of the biggest players in the country, right? So how do you see that, the landscape?
Yeah, looking at this situation, which is, of course, this is really frustrating us, having that situation near us. But it's hard to say about the advantages during that period.
Yeah.
But anyway, I will share with you my thoughts about how it's going to be progressing in the future in the region. We have definitely it's going to be affected on the road transport and the air transport as well.
Right.
Where I can say that we may expect increasing the volume of the shipments, especially transit shipments to the northern part of our country, and then it is also going to be affecting on the land transportation because of the availability of the freight forwarders or hauliers on the region.
Right.
We talked about the same in Ukrainian and Russian and Turkish hauliers,
right,
which is mainly predominantly doing the transportation back and forth within our region.
Yeah.
So this is I think, and of course it has to take some time to adapting the region under the new situation or geographically or political situation. But anyway, we had similar challenges during the pandemic, and everyone has get adapted to the new rules, to the new requirements, and so on. And we've seen it before. And we've seen how the system of stock keeping and what we call the just-in-time system. So it was
difficult.
It was under the impact of it. So and now again it takes some time, maybe a few months, and the people has get adapted, increasing their stocks and so on.
So the whole cycle of the bullwhip effect. There was no stock, now you got more stock, and then they gotta be imbalance of that topic. Okay, cool. So again, Samir, thank you for joining me. Again, most importantly, showing the warehouse. And if you see right now, there's a huge amount of investment going on from the grand logistics, especially into automation, which we have shown you earlier. It's a huge warehouse, a huge facility. And I think this is the right setup or infrastructure for anybody who's doing business in this region. And come and contact Samir. He's available on LinkedIn, right? Yes. So you can find him. He's one of my connections. You can message me as well. So we're gonna connect you with Samir as well. Pretty nice setup. I met the team as well. Very strong team, very enthusiastic team actually, right? So basically, I would suggest they're the right people at the right place to do business in this region. Samir, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for the opportunity, and I'll see you next time. As we keep saying in our video, keep it simple and keep it real. Take care of yourself. Ciao. Good night. Bye.
Bye.